We're talking to Andrew Rossi, who is a documentary filmmaker, about his new movie called Ivory Tower. Tell me what attracted you to the subject of higher education in the first place?
So higher education is a world and environment that I've personally had a lot of rewarding experience with. I did a program in my freshman year at Yale University called Directed Studies. It's one that provides a sort of survey of Western Civ. We wrote papers, 12-page papers every week, and then on the weekends would sort of drink and kind of get obliterated and then start all over again. So it was this sort of perfect combination of like very hard academic concentration, but then also great social life. It was like paradise. I loved it, and that was I don't know, I guess about 20 years ago. So in 2012, when I started researching this idea, people like Peter Thiel were saying that the college ideal had become broken, and was in fact offering people who go to Yale and who go to Harvard and other schools $100,000 to drop out. And after doing the last movie that I did, Page One, inside the New York Times, about disruption in the newspaper business, it seemed to me that there was a disruption story in higher education. And on a personal level, I just thought, I really want to go on the ground in different universities and see what's going on. Is it true? And what I found was that strikingly, yes, that is true. There are some very, very severe structural problems in the higher education sector. And although this ideal of sort of transformative education survives in certain places, in a lot of other ones it does not. And so that's what the film is basically investigating.
So talk about the economics of that broken system. How is that affecting people who need to pay for this education?
So the way that we look at this question is through the lens of sort of the law of more, or the cost disease, which is basically to say there are some colleges and universities that are able, through very extensive endowments and very successful development efforts, to maintain a budget that can accommodate incredible expansion of facilities, research labs, dormitories, star faculty. But then there are other mid-tier schools that do not have the benefit of such an endowment, and are sort of in a race to emulate these other elite schools and to compete for prestige to draw students. I believe it's about 50% of people under 25 are graduating unemployed or underemployed. So that's sort of the macroeconomic context that we look at, but there are other factors that influence the rise of tuition since 1978 to now at a rate in excess of 1,000%.
Do you come away with the sense that higher education needs to be more of a training ground, where people are going in specifically to become an accountant or become a lawyer or a doctor, where it's that liberal arts idea is gone and it's focused right from the beginning?
Well, I mean, you raise a really important question, which is, should we have students going to school in a purely liberal arts course of study, which is sort of teaching them to think but not necessarily preparing them for a specific job in the market, or should we have a more instrumentalist education? And I mean, that's a debate that is very heated. I think no matter what, students need to, prospective students need to think about how much they're paying and how much debt they're taking on, and the sort of earning potential they will have with their course of study. So I don't think there needs to be a sort of stricture on fields like art or philosophy. If what one is spending for 4 years of study in that discipline can be supported by the amount you'll make, then that's perfectly fine.
Do you think that it ever makes sense for someone not to go to college?
Yes, absolutely. It completely makes sense for several types of people not to go to college. And we explore that in the film in a significant way. There's an uncollege movement in San Francisco that Dale Stevens, who was one of the Thiel Fellows, has started. And we found really very, very smart and articulate 18-year-olds who are attending academic seminars and assessing whether they need to go to college, whether they can instead pursue an entrepreneurial path, to their goals, or can assemble online classes and networked experiences. There's a lot of potential there. However, that doesn't work for everyone. In particular, I think disadvantaged students don't necessarily have the same networks available to them, and the power of a community college or a state school to provide social mobility is still very important. As Jeff Salingo says in the film, telling a bunch of students that they're all going to become the next Steve Jobs or Mark Zuckerberg and just drop out of school is like telling someone who's good at basketball that they're going to make it to the NBA.